Yo ca vassasataṃ jīve, apassaṃ amataṃ padaṃ, ekāhaṃ jīvitaṃ seyyo, passato amataṃ padaṃ. Though one should live 100 years, not seeing the deathless state, yet better is life for a single day, for one who can see the deathless state. I'd like to start by paying homage to the Lord Buddha and expressing greetings and also condolences to all the lay supporters, especially the Maneerod family here today. And we are gathered today to remember and make merit for Mrs. Songsri Maneerod, who passed away 16 years ago at the age of 76 on this day of 2010. My name is Phra Nicholas Thanissaro of the MCCA in Azusa, and today I'd like to give a short Dhamma talk on the topic of the living are few but the dead are many, for the benefit of all those attending this funeral. So my talk today comes from the Dhammapada verse 114 and its commentary in the teaching given by the Buddha at Jetavana Monastery with reference to the nun Kisā Gotamī. Kisā Gotamī was born into a poverty-stricken household in ancient India, but had a lot of merit. And to cut a long story short, that merit gave her the ability, similar to King Midas, that everything she touched was turned to gold. She was able to marry into the family of a rich merchant who was down on his luck, because she was able to salvage his worldly treasure, which had become ashes, and return his fortune to its former value. Later on in life, Kisā Gotamī bore her family a son, and the boy, however, just when he was a toddler, he passed away, and, of course, his mother, Kisā Gotamī, was distraught with grief. She had never encountered death firsthand before, and therefore when they came to remove the little boy's body for cremation, she would not permit them to do so. She was in denial about her son's death. She promised herself, "I will seek medicine for my son." So she placed her dead child on her hip, and she went from house to house inquiring, "Do you know anyone who can cure my son?" And everyone informed her, "Woman, are you stark raving mad, going from house to house to find a cure for your dead child?" But she ignored them, thinking, "Surely I can find someone who knows a cure for my child." Now a certain wise man saw her and thought to himself, "This young woman cannot accept the loss of her only child. Maybe she is unfamiliar with death. I will try to help her." So he said to her, "Woman, I myself cannot help you, but I know of someone who can," while directing her to visit the Buddha, who happened to be visiting the same city at that time. So Kisā Gotamī went to visit the Buddha, paid respect to him, and asked him, "Venerable Sir, is it true, as I've been told, that you know how to make things right for my child?" And the Buddha said that he would try to help her. Kisā Gotamī asked what medicine she needed, and the Buddha replied, "A pinch of white mustard seed." Kisā Gotamī asked, "Is there somewhere special she needed to get this white mustard seed from?" And the Buddha replied, "It can only come from a house in which the family have never experienced the death in the family." Kisā Gotamī placed her child on her hip, entered the village, and knocked at the door of the very first house, asking, "Have you any white mustard seed here? They say it will cure my child." The householders said that they did have some white mustard seed, but before Kisā Gotamī would accept it, she had to ask, "But in the house where you live, have you ever experienced a death in the family?" And the householders explained, "What a strange thing to have to ask, because the living are few, only the dead are many. Of course we have experienced a death in the family." "Well then, take back your white mustard seed. It will not be an effective cure for my child." In the same manner, Kisā Gotamī went from house to house. At every place she asked for white mustard seed, but no matter how many houses she visited, there was not a single one that had never experienced a death in the family. When evening came, she realized she had taken an impossible task on herself. Previously, she thought she was the only one who had ever grieved the loss of a close family member. But in every village, the dead outnumber the living. And when she reflected on this realization, her heart, which until that time had been inconsolable with the mother's love, became firm. She took the child and buried him in the forest. Then she went back to the Buddha, paid homage to him, and stood to one side. The Buddha asked her, "So, did you manage to get a pinch of white mustard seed?" And Kisā Gotamī said she had not. However, she had come to a realization that in every village the dead outnumber the living. Only then did the Buddha conclude, "You imagined vainly that you alone had lost a child. But all living beings are subject to an unchanging law, and it is this. The Prince of Death, like a raging torrent, sweeps all living beings away into the sea of ruin. But still their longings are unfulfilled." And instructing her in the Dhamma, he pronounced the following stanza: "In flocks and children finding delight, with a mind clinging, just such a man death seizes and carries away, as a great flood washes away a sleeping village." As the Buddha uttered the last part of the stanza, Kisā Gotamī was able to attain stream entry, which is the first stage of enlightenment. Likewise did many other people who were listening along to the teaching. And this account is an illustration of the popular aphorism that the living are few but the dead are many. Consequently, as Kisā Gotamī had made her peace with mortality and the nature of the world, she requested the Buddha to allow her to become a nun. Accordingly, he sent her to the order of nuns and directed that they let her ordain. And afterwards she attained acceptance as a nun and came to be known as Kisā Gotamī Teri. One day it was her turn to light the lamp in the main chapel, and having lit the lamp she sat down and watched the tongues of flame. Some flared up and others flickered out. She took this metaphor as a subject of her meditation and contemplated as follows: "Even as it is with these flames, so also is it with living beings here in the world. Some flare up, while others flicker out. Only those who have reached Nibbana are seen no more." The Buddha sent forth a radiant apparition of himself, and standing as it were face to face with her, spoke and said, "Even as it is with these flames, some flare up extendedly, while others flicker out quickly. Only those who have reached Nibbana are seen no more. Therefore better is the life of one who sees Nibbana, even though they live briefly, than the lives of those who endure for 100 years and yet do not see Nibbana." At the conclusion of the discourse, Kisā Gotamī, even as she sat there, attained arahantship, together with the analytical knowledges, and is recorded as declaring in verse in the Gotamī Sutta of Book 1 of the Samyutta Nikaya, "I've gotten past the death of my child, have made an end to my search for men. I no longer grieve, I no longer weep. My sentimentality has been overcome. That mass of darkness is shattered, having defeated the army of death. Now, free of defilements, I dwell." And this thought brings me back to the Buddhist proverb in the Dhammapada with which I started this discourse, that "Yo cha vassasataṃ jīve, apassaṃ amataṃ padaṃ, ekāhaṃ jīvitaṃ seyyo, passato amataṃ padaṃ." Though one should live 100 years, not seeing the deathless state, yet better is life for a single day for one who sees the deathless state. And the message of this teaching is that the dead outnumber the living. We, the living, are the minority. So a funeral should not be a time when we cry for our loved ones who are departed, but we should cry instead for ourselves, who also continue to serve a precarious life on an allegorical death row of mortality, not forgetting that all of us must sooner or later follow the deceased to their grave. Furthermore, in keeping with the wise words of the Buddha, we should make full use of our remaining time on this earth in order to strive to attain the deathless, by doing as many good deeds in our life as we can, since the value of human life is not in proportion to its length in years, but rather to whether, in the time we live, whether it be for many years or for few, we have managed in our meditation and in our good deeds to touch upon the deathless state. And if nothing else, our memorial ceremony today is to remind us of this, because we can never afford to forget this. In this connection, I should add and congratulate the Maneerod family, because to my knowledge, I think there's no other family who have remembered their loved one for as long as 16 years since the passing. Normally, the families, they will have a memorial after 50 days or 100 days, or maybe after 1 year in a few cases, but for many years, such as the case for Mrs. Songsri, this is quite an exceptional achievement for any family to have that sense of strong gratitude for a loved one who has passed away. Generally, if someone has done a lot of good deeds, immediately when they pass away, they can be expected to go to a better and brighter place. And these memorial ceremony, which will generate merit for those loved ones, is in the case where people are in a sort of limbo and they are still looking for that goodness to help to bring them to a better place. But this is always a very beautiful ceremony. It's something which is a great tradition for the family to be able to gather around as an annual event like this. But on this occasion, imina kata punyena, may the power of the merits arising from the Dhamma talk today bring Mrs. Songsri Maneerod happiness and prosperity in her new rebirth according to the wishes of all the supporters on this occasion, and may these merits bring all the participants long life, strong health, strength, happiness, and quick-wittedness. Whatever good things you wish for in life, may those things come to you easily in every way. And instead of mourning Mrs. Songsri Maneerod, we should bear in mind that during her life she cultivated a not insignificant number of good deeds throughout her life, as summed up in the verses of the little poem which was shared with us, that Mom's smiles can brighten any moment, Mom's hugs put a joy in our days. Mom's love will stay with us forever and touch our lives in precious ways. The values you've taught, the care you've given, and the wonderful love you've shown have enriched our lives in more ways than we can count. You let us know you love us in so many different ways. You made us feel important with encouragement and praise. You were always there when we needed you to comfort and care for us. We love you, Mum. You are missed here always. So it is to be expected that with all the good deeds Mrs. Songsri Maneerod cultivated during her lifetime, and the ones which I have heard about, she made merit and supported many temples throughout her long life, including being one of the pioneer supporters of our main temple, Dhammapada, in Thailand, even volunteering to wash dishes there in the early days. And she was an excellent role model to all of her family. So together with the merit of this 16-year memorial ceremony organized in her name, especially from the merit of giving today's Dhamma talk on the dead being more numerous than the living, we hope that Mrs. Songsri Maneerod, as she looks down on us from her new existence, she will be led to an ever brighter and more refined status in her afterlife existence. And before we hear the Matika chanting, I would like to invite everyone to call to mind all the merits arising as we reflect with our eyes closed for a few moments in silence on the value of attaining the deathless state. So if you'd like to close your eyes gently, bring your mind back to the center of your body. Think of brightness there, or think of the feeling of goodness, almost like a warm, fuzzy feeling on the inside, which occurs whenever you are able to do good deeds in your life. while relaxing yourself all the way from the top of your head right the way down to the tips of your toes. Breathing deeply. And also allowing yourself to reconnect with a sense of peace and serenity. Not grieving, but at this time, especially after 16 years since the passing of your mother, grandmother, you can think of relief with the good example which she has set for all of the generations coming after her, children, grandchildren, as an example and a beacon of goodness in the world, showing us that a person's success in life doesn't just come from a large family or having a lot of money in the bank, but it comes from our kindness and the time we spend to express our compassion through support of charitable causes, support of temple works, and especially supporting the monks in their job of helping to create a sense of peace in society, especially at a time in the world when we are surrounded by so much turmoil. But supporting monks to bring peace in the world helps to make a place which is an oasis of calm and positive culture, the training of good habits in lives from an early age. All of this is supported by people such as Mrs. Songsri Maneerod, who was one of the very first pioneers of helping to make the success of the temple from a time when it was hardly known about in a wider society. So bringing our mind at the center of our body, we can think of the name or the face of Mrs. Songsri, wishing that she absorb all the goodness which we have come together to practice today, to make her life ever brighter, more refined in her afterlife, and perhaps with the wish that in future lifetimes she can join us again in order to walk the spiritual path, way of perfection together, and continue to inspire us as we walk this path in further lifetimes to come until we can all attain nirvana.